Welcome to Awakening Soul Divinity, your sacred space for deep healing and transformation. Listen to inspiring conversations with healing experts, spiritual guides, and teachers as we explore ancient wisdom, modern healing, and powerful stories of change. I'll also share practical insights from my personal journey, from spiritual crisis to inner purpose. Whether you're seeking to overcome anxiety, embrace your true nature, or awaken your higher self, this podcast offers guidance to help you transform your life and elevate collective consciousness.
Hey everyone, I'm Rena, and welcome to the Awakening Soul Divinity podcast. And today my guests, plural, are Clive Digby-Jones and Dr. Eileen Watkins-Seymour. And I'll let them get into the description once I start asking the questions. But in the meantime, I am so excited that you both decided to join me on this journey. Mainly also because I have been doing work with them and it's been shifting a lot of things. And I was excited to have them share what it is that they do, because I just experience the experience when I'm doing the work with them. They know what they're doing and I can't explain it. They can explain it. So having Eileen and Clive on, and Clive, welcome back. And Eileen, welcome. And I'm so excited to have you here and kind of give an idea of what exactly this work is that you do. So what I'm going to ask, we're going to start the conversation and just give like basic information, because I know there's a lot to it. I've been researching it. In fact, I'm going to share, they wrote a book called The Missing Piece. And I think it's very appropriate. Because in my healing journey over the last couple of years, that was what I was doing. I was working on inner peace. So I thought it was kind of interesting that turned out that way as well. So, and you can talk about that a little bit later also. And we'll dive in more as we go, but just basic information on what kind of work you do, please.
Okay, well, I actually like doing the work better than talking about it, but
that's okay. That's the best you can.
Okay, so when people come, they come with physical ailments, emotional problems, all sorts of things. So what we want to do is discover how their energy in their internal universe, where is it? How is it disconnected? How is it fragmented? Do they have energy outside themselves also? So what we do, we hear them, and they also show us by, they do all sorts of things. So we have them talk to those places that were shown. They see inside themselves. They see the fragmented energy. They acknowledge them. And at the end, so I'm going to just finish it now, they have connected and pulled source energy, source light, through anything they have found, connecting it. And so finally it radiates through the body, doesn't stop at the skin line, goes into infinity. And then people have lost the negativity, have lost the pains, etc. Because what's in pain is usually the energy that's either blocking or being blocked, etc. Okay, does that kind of explain things?
It does. And I'm going to go ahead.
Say the bottom line is we help facilitate other people to find their missing energy and become whole.
That's the word I was looking. Yeah, the whole word. I was looking for that.
Exactly. Okay, so this, by the way, the part of the title.
Part of this space.
Missing Piece, the Advanced Seeker's Guide to Wholeness. That's under that.
Yes, and that's a really cool byline. I think that's the right word for it, because as a seeker, I don't think they use that word as much anymore maybe, but I was always a seeker, and now I feel like I'm a finder. And by going through, processes like this, it creates that space for me to do the finding rather than the searching, constantly searching. So, and I wanted to ask you, when you do your work, that's based off of your intuition and your gifts that help you to draw or see, or how you do your work with people? What are you, do you know what you're doing?
You know what? I would say that differently. I work off of my clients. They show me, they tell me in ways that I know what questions to ask.
Okay.
What's going on.
So you're listening for it, or are you feeling it?
I'm listening and watching.
Okay. All right. And now for the client, though, how can you describe what they're going through? I mean, I could give a little bit of a description, which is really powerful. I'd like to hear your version of that first, what you think they're going through, and then I can add in a little bit.
They're going through looking inside themselves, which they've never done before, a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Outer eyes are closed. I ask them to open up their inner eyes. If they're looking through their body and they're seeing things, and they're seeing their fragmented pattern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how do they feel? Okay, at the end of most sessions, most people feel very tired, which is understandable. And obviously, if they've cleared things, they feel more at peace, more content. It's more, more positive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would add.
Go ahead.
Go for it, Clive.
So if you think about the people who are coming to us, they're one of 3 stages along the 4-stage personal development path. First stage is sleepwalking through life. Second stage is becoming self-aware and curious, maybe opening doors to the spiritual inner world.
This is that level is kind of like the I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I need something, right, but I don't know exactly what that is yet.
They may end up blaming their parents. Okay, so
well, the parents, in one way, are responsible, right, for it.
Well, yeah, generations too. So yeah,
absolutely.
The next stage is self-managing. So as people have gone through self-awareness, they're now they attend classes, they do yoga, they meditate, they do whatever to manage day to day. Now, the interesting thing about that is that it's self-management. So something in them is managing the rest of them. So we're looking for a controller, we're looking for an observer, a doubter, a judge, whatever.
Well, those are the archetypes, correct? Is that part of that? It sounds like the archetypes. When you say that, it sounds like the archetypes.
It's simpler in one way, is that there's a controller inside or outside them. And therefore their experience as they're experiencing this work is they're processing it through often their head, and they're feeling things in and around their bodies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's more than one thing going on.
They're not only processing it in their heads, they're processing it through any fragment we're talking to.
Yes, and then they're
but what's interesting, like, so I'll give and then you can do the last one because I know you want to finish that part, but the self-actualization part. So like with me, when I'm doing the work, it's very interesting. And I don't know if it's because I'm very sensitive to energies or what's going on, but when they work with me, I'm like feeling all of this energy inside and outside of me. And it's like these color. Sometimes I see color, sometimes I don't. Sometimes, like on the last one, I saw goop. That was the word, goop. So something was going on there where everything.
That was a very original word.
I know, it was good. And it was like a sludgy, gross, mushed up everything.
And that was orange, wasn't it?
Yes. But when we started working with all that, the light, like you're talking about bringing the light is supposed to be inside of us, not outside. We're not supposed to be looking outside of us. We're supposed to be connected to ourselves, and somehow, trauma and society and mass consciousness and all these different things throughout the generations and all that kind of break that all apart. And we don't know that that's happening. We're kind of stuck in this space. And when I'm doing this work with you, I feel this like safety. I feel this pull back and forth between what you're asking me, what my body is and my mind and whatever the whole creation is willing to share with you, and it's like this give and take thing that I don't know if I've really ever experienced that before in any modality, but I'm using it in any other way that I've done healing work. And it's very interesting. And I'm a curious person at heart. So I dive right in and I feel that stuff, whatever the energies are that are moving that you're talking about. And you really, Eileen loves having conversations with these parts that are split out or whatever the word is out here.
They need to know that we know they exist.
Yeah. And it's the fact that, as humans, and for me, I notice that when we don't like something about ourselves, we tend to push that away, whether it's pushing it down, whether it's pushing it further in, whether it's pushing it out. And doing this work reconnects those parts that have been shunned. I guess that's a good word for it. And it brings that back in. I've done this, 3 weeks now, and I do feel more centered and at peace, even when crazy stuff goes on around me. And it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, but I think it's kind of cool. So, yay. So in that, Clive, finish your fourth, the fourth part of that grouping that go on.
We are introducing to many people who are at the first, second, or third stage the concept of self-actualization.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, that is connected to a faith-based or spiritual model. And one of the things that they learn is that not only are they finding these fragmented energies in their bodies and outside their bodies and everything else, and bringing that all in such that it can radiate out.
Mm-hmm.
In, down, up.
From each direction.
All over.
Yeah.
As so below, as out, whatever. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. And for some people, finding they've got a future self that's been walking ahead of them and not knowing they were there and they didn't know it was there is new news. But the whole point is, as we're recovering energy that withdrew or fragmented or whatever, and it's becoming embodied, we start to become a light vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when all of the energies that are of us or are connected to us that are way out actually can be invited in.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a phrase I use sometimes, which is invite, your angel, your guides, your gods, and everything else to roll up their non-existent sleeves and come on in. They may have had existences before themselves or whatever. Why not have another go and be fully part and then radiate out and add to it?
And it's actually not talking to the angels and the whatevers. Yeah. It's talking to the source light that created them.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually making life easier, because you no longer have to have long distance calls with those guides and entities and everything else, but that energy come in. And what it does, and with the help of whatever it was the controlling mechanism in and around the head, is that can come on and expand and be part of the radiance and out. And it becomes more knowing than questioning, judging, observing, and all that hard work that we do.
Because it's become grounded.
It's become grounded, yeah.
Yeah.
final thing
Yes.
is that when we do this and we're radiating fully, is we really trigger the law of attraction.
Oh, yeah.
So that, with intention, yes, but we can actually have things find us and be attracted to us. And so suddenly people turn up, suddenly things turn up, and our outer world starts to shift and to be more productive and positive. And
it's interesting that you brought that up, because even before I met you, I started to see that. It was like when I started clearing out these energies, like I've talked with you about the nervous system stuff, because that's the work that I've done on myself from PTSD and, all that kind of thing. And what's interesting to me is that when those emotions or energies in motion that got stuck in my body, when I started working on that and clearing it out, like I used to dissociate, I was dysregulated, I never could regulate myself unless I had someone who was regulated in front of me. And once I started doing that, I noticed that things were starting to come into my life. And there was a few years ago, I mentioned, it just popped into my head, it was just some information where when we are traumatized and we have an energy of emotion that we don't know what to do with it, it gets caught, it gets stuck somewhere somehow. That was my experience before coming to see you, but it got caught. And then as everything gets caught, it kind of gets stacked, if you want to get into the whole therapy piece of it. But as it clears out, what I understood about it, the download I got, was that the entire chakra system, so to speak, when it clears out, there's room. So when a new recent, present anger comes in, or frustration or something like that, it doesn't come in and get stuck and get caught up with what's in there. It comes in and it has room to flow, because that energy has been released. And when it's flowing, that's where the law of attraction starts to come through, because it's flowing. And that was my understanding, but you validated that.
Radiating.
Well, yes, because when it's like a lighthouse, I say this all the time, you radiate, people come find you, life finds you, everything finds you, the things that you want to find you, not the stuff that's stuck inside that you've created, that doesn't feel good. Those things stop finding you. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That was a great validation, Clive.
And for those watching, you spoke a lot with your hands to your heart.
Yeah, I'm a heart. Yeah, that's it.
Well, but also that's a major doorway for you. So it's sort of
most people,
and for most people,
yeah. Well, because the head and the heart, the connection, I think, has something to do with that as well. And the short distance between the two that we get confused with also, I think. But now, Eileen, I would like to know, when you started doing this work, was there some kind of catalyst or something that happened in your life that drew you to want to start focusing on this stuff, or healing yourself, or, just something that, like, I just had a conversation with someone who does narrative healing, and I forget the name of the process, but it's called catalyst something. So for us as humans in our lives, we tend to have some sort of a catalyst that pushes us in the direction that we end up going in. So what was that for you? Do you know what that is?
Good question. I'm going to give you a quick example of my whole life. I started out as a junior high school English teacher.
Okay.
They asked me to please do the school's yearbook, and I said, I've never done anything like that. We have total faith in you. 2 of my honor students would come to my apartment in Brooklyn and help me, plus about 20 others. But these ones would come to my apartment. Now, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know yet.
Magic circle.
Oh, that's true. I forgot that. When I was teaching, I created the magic circle in the middle of the classroom. Everybody else was doing whatever work I had given them. And the magic circle, don't ask me what we did, I can't remember, but it was a very special Yeah, I've forgotten that. Good
And
job. Thank you.
your students would therefore talk to you at some depth about things that were
How they
happening.
were feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did I do that? I can't answer. Seemed like a good idea.
You just
Okay.
you were full of downloads then. You got these thoughts that would help create space
Yes.
to help
And
with.
then in England,
It's in England.
and why do I bother taking NLP?
Well, your first husband and you and the two kids went over to England, and you
In 1976.
joined the American Women's Club, and you started up the Young Mothers and Others group.
Yes.
And one of the people you had come in and talk to the group was a therapist in transactional analysis.
Oh my God, that's right. Who
And
is it? Do you remember?
It's a lady. I don't remember
Wow.
her name. And
He's got a great memory, thank God.
I get it.
walking memory. She had a session with this lady in front of the group, and it opened up a sense that she could be a therapist. And so she started.
I probably got curious.
Yeah, started to do an MA in humanistic psychology. And while that was going on, one of her the other students came to her and told her about NLP. So you take it from there.
Well, I was doing NLP for quite a while, and
Neurolinguistic programming.
yeah, and somehow I think my questions must have taken people deeper, me more deep information. So I then changed the words of who I was to I'm teaching holistic, I'm doing holistic NLP. And then I don't know how many months or years
Then
later.
I came back into your life, and I was writing articles.
Wait a minute.
And
you came back in. When were you in the beginning?
Oh, we don't.
I came to you as a client.
A 4-hour conversation.
Study NLP and so on. But anyway, yes. So I wrote the first article about holistic NLP in a journal, and some people in California read it and said, "Oh, that sounds good. Where do we learn this?" And the only way was to bring us over to California. And then they couldn't cope with holistic NLP. They called it the Ravenscroft approach, because that's where we lived.
So they started that.
They named.
I didn't even remember
what we were doing. So there was a sequence of events. My observation of Eileen was that her inquiry, her method of inquiry, included wondering when people were saying something where they were speaking from. And that opened up the whole thing about
speaking from, feeling from,
doorways. Therefore, a larger understanding of energy and it getting withdrawn in childhood and in lives and past lives and other things. So,
are we going to get into black holes now?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I know you're excited about that part. That's why I saved the best for last, okay? No, I really want to know, though, before we get there, how do you see the changes in what's going on in the world right now to why we need to heal our nervous systems so we can become whole and fully embodied, and then how RAPSI is involved with that, because it's different from all other ways of doing things that I've noticed. So can you kind of give an idea of how or how RAPSI is kind of involved in how it will help with the nervous system to help become whole and embodied, or Clive?
Yeah. So if we look at the world and we look at people in it, and there are these 4 stages: sleepwalk through life, self-awareness, self-management. Very few people are at the level of self-actualization. If we think of the process of our energy coming in at birth, or in the womb, shall we say, and then coming out as a little baby and radiating out, hopefully parents, carers, whatever, recognize the energy of the child and want to pick it up, feed it, clean it, and everything else. However, if they're not available, let's say, fully available, then the child's energy senses that and starts to withdraw.
Well,
if you
Before,
think of the, can I just say, if you think of the children in the Romanian orphanage who
Mhm.
were not touched or picked up or anything else, and they became sort of deadened, so their energy withdrew so much that there was no sort of apparent light in them.
Mhm, mhm.
To Eileen mentioning implosion is that if people are hurt, if they're not received and everything enough, that energy implodes and fragments, and some can then get pushed out. So there's this implosion. Pieces of energy become frozen like a fist. You take your hand and you make a fist and you keep holding and keep holding, keep holding. Eventually it becomes numb.
Well,
So
isn't there a point though in some cases where a person who has never, because I was a massage therapist and I learned a lot about touch. I learned a lot about connection. And for babies especially, isn't there a point where if there's such a lack of
yes,
touch and connection that they could die
yes.
because of
So
that?
I suppose
before that is the withdrawal. And this kind of happened in a
it can be, it can start in the womb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the point is that the child growing up experiences that their energy that withdrew experiences not being there. It
Mhm.
experiences, deadness. It experiences
Or
stuckness.
sadness and loneliness, frustration,
And then the
etc.
feelings come, sadness, fear, anger, this, that, and the other.
Whatever.
And we think those are our feelings.
Well, they are.
They are part of
They're
our
part of
feelings,
it.
but they're coming from those places. So what do is we try and suppress the feelings. We try and mediate them. We take
Yeah. Well,
we do
because we don't know what else to do with them.
right. So many of the therapies and modalities are looking at the symptoms,
Hmm.
trying to help a person with the symptoms and manage. And that can lock you into a cycle of having to keep working with somebody because that's
Sure.
the only time that it gets cleared. What this does is take you to the cause. So it takes you to that and finding that energy memory.
Hmm.
So there can be inner others. So it's not just us, our inner children or child.
Or
It's
parents,
it can be inner
etc.
parents, abusers, this is and that's and everything else made out of our energy and their energy, and a combination of those things. So we're actually on a hunt for these fragments of energy, and what they show up as. Sometimes it can be colors and layers of energy. Sometimes it can be an actual person. It can be us as a child age 3 or whatever it happens to be. And it's the same thing that's happening is let's go and find the light that withdrew itself, compressed itself into darkness or into layers of color on the outside of itself. And so as a person, you're looking through those layers until you find the light. And when there are various stages of acknowledgement and everything on the way, but when you find that light, you can, with your intention, start to pull that through, and layer by layer dissolves back into light. So we then end up with released light that can fill us, and when it reaches the skin line, it can then radiate out. And that's when things really dramatically can change in
Hmm.
outer lives, as well as the absence of those negative feelings coming from layers of our energy protecting white light, which is the bottom line,
Which is source energy.
which is
Yeah.
source energy.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish I could remember the name of the woman. She's been around as long as you guys have been doing this work though. And she's an energy practitioner person. Her popular phrase was energy is everything.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we are so caught up in this, suit, thick, heavy thing that we call our bodies, where we forget that the energy is there because of all of what we've experienced throughout the generations, throughout our personal experience, throughout all that stuff. So we don't even really understand what energy is. We're so focused, like you were also saying, on fixing the symptoms that we're not even looking at what created it to begin with. And so the work that you do, that's what this sounds like, is you go way, way, way past
Getting to the source.
The core, the deepest part of us, which is also the lightest part of us, but nobody knows this. It's hard to know that when we're so stuck in that heavy, dark, shadowy energy, because we're protecting ourselves. We're like this all the time. Does that resonate? Does that?
Yeah. The other thing to add to that piece is the light has been protecting itself.
Yeah, and that part's interesting to me because it's like, why would if light is God and light is expansive and light is all of that, why would it be protecting itself?
Because life stunk.
Okay, so it's our light. It's our light that's protecting ourselves. It's not like universal light that's protecting. Okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense.
If I can read something from a really quite wise person, it is our job to find, integrate or reintegrate, fully embody and radiate the light so that we, made from light, and the light can experience what it means to be fully human.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like something that Miss Dr. Eileen wrote.
It was.
You smart thing.
I know. I read it. I got the book, remember? Well, that's interesting. Now, with all of that said, how exactly did you go from holistic NLP or neuro-linguistic programming to create RAPSI? And can you tell us what the acronym means, please?
Can we tell you what
the acronym means?
It's the Ravenscroft approach to psycho-spiritual integration.
Because I lived on Ravenscroft Avenue in London. So that's why it was the Ravenscroft Center.
Mm-hmm.
And the work became that.
Clive mentioned that there's a connection too with the Raven itself, and I appreciated that.
There isn't, but we figured that out after the name.
Well, no, I mean, but there's still energetically there's a connection with the Raven.
Yes.
So just to finish on psycho-spiritual integration, when we went to California and for 3 years we taught people over there. When we came back, we had a colleague, a practitioner who's very well connected in college and university level trainings. And so he said, well, why don't I help you get a training together and we'll get it certified? And he said, well, do you realize that actually what you're doing is something called psycho-spiritual integration?
And I went, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Sounds
I like that word. I really like that.
That's what I said.
And he said, we're creating a branch within our organization, certifying trainings, and you
Mike Johnston Price.
Mike Johnston Price. You are the person doing this. He was a person who...
He wasn't in California. He was England, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was England. He was organizing workshops for us at his place.
That's right.
He worked to help us go to Crete with a group, and there were all sorts of things to do with that. I won't go into it. Let's get to the Raven. So if you look at American Indian history and you look at the animals and so on, the raven was the messenger that would fly into the void, so here's the darkness, and would bring back messages from Great Spirit and would bring back magic from there as well. So, they've got ravens at the Tower of London who can't fly because they don't let go of the ravens. But in general thing, we've realized that that whole totem of the raven is very important. And we were living in Ravenscroft, so that's the raven's nest in London.
Yes.
That's the way to put it.
And so on.
It's interesting that the raven's black too. The color of the raven is...
Yes. Yeah. And often it's black has had bad press through history, darkness and all the negative side of things. And if you think that it's actually the light that has withdrawn itself and surrounded itself, compressed itself around itself with darkness or colors and then darkness, it's actually a protective layer.
Very important protective layer.
Very important.
And a lot of the black inside people do not even know that. And then they learn that they've got a job, they've got a function. And it's very important.
So we have a photograph of Eileen talking to Stephen Hawking when his book Brief History of Time was being promoted by the Scientific and Medical Network.
So we were at a meeting there.
That's
where we met him.
And she was mentioning to him that I'd written an article about black holes in the internal universe, which is her work. I mean, I just, I'm one of the writers. But anyway, so he looked slightly glazed when she was saying this. But it is
glazed.
Yeah, what I say is he looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
I
mentioned this story to one of the people who's a cosmologist who was studying this whole business, which created the energy field around the planet, and they were trying to work it out. And I said to him, well, look, why don't you the internal black hole is same as the external one. Our internal universe and our external universe are one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
What if you did a session and look inside yourself and ask some questions of your energies and everything else? So he had this one session, and he came out and said, well, I'm not going to say that I found nirvana, he said. However, it answered a number of things that we've all been working on. Within months, he'd cracked the problem that they were creating, and then has written the book on this energy. It's called The Field, which is around the planet. And there's a lady, she has an organization where she's been measuring intention and prayer, and she's the one who held field conferences, which I went to, things like that. So this has been alongside the scientific community, and we recognize, the quantum level, that when we're talking about energy and cells and the whole business it's closely allied to understanding that our cells lose light as we age, and that in fact we can recover light.
Just as we age.
No, I know.
No, what?
Not just as we age.
Well, it can be any time in life, right?
No, but the science is.
In fact, I don't even know if older people can be radiating. So I do not want to think about the age thing. That's not nice.
Well, the scientists,
especially since I'm going on 82.
The scientists that I've spoken to, we recognize that you can recover, and this is energy medicine, which is coming through, and in our programs as well.
Yeah.
That the cell light dim through it, and that's what the body dies.
Yeah, there's a lot of research. I don't know if it's within quantum physics or whatever, but there's a lot of research out there right now with cell light, because there is light within the cells. And I've heard that. I haven't really gone deep into the hole about that, but I have heard about that. So it's very interesting. I don't know if my head could handle that much. It might explode, but
we're creating Ravenscroft in the US as we wanted to call it Ravenscroft University, but it's a nightmare dealing with every state and saying if you have a word university. So it's really wisdom schools, of which Rapsy will be.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because the wisdom schools incorporates the Native American or the indigenous also, right?
That's right. Yeah. And we may keep Ravenscroft University in Europe because they're more tolerant of that sort of thing. But we want to spread this work. It's not about us too. I mean, we do it, and Eileen trained me in this.
Yeah.
We really want to find people who
and that's the next step, because I'd really like to get you guys back on here, or Clive, because I know how much you love this, Dr. Eileen.
No, actually, I'm liking it much more than I thought I would.
Good. That's a good thing. Yay!
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yay! All right. Well, that's the intention, is to get this out there so you guys can get your work out there, so more people can hear about it and see it and experience it and all that.
But we thank you hugely for that.
Absolutely. And so that kind of segues us into my next question, though. How does all of this that we've been talking about relate to, as you know, the name of the podcast is Awakening Soul Divinity, correct? How does all of this work that you're doing and all of these things that you're finding and all of this research that you're doing, how does that relate to our awakening as humans? And what difference can this make in what's going on in the world right now? Because the work that you guys are doing is like so expansive and so big, and it goes beyond the medical system and the educational system as we have it in the world right now. So how does that relate to our awakening as humans?
Well, if we become radiating, grounded wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
we can nicely connect with others. There doesn't have to be this split and this disconnection and this fighting and oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, so it would be a very different, peaceful, purposeful, in a positive way, growing globe of people.
And that not only works within the planet, it also expands out into the universe or the
Right.
right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right. So I've got, did you have anything else you wanted to say, Clive? Go ahead.
Just one thing.
Okay.
So I'm a process guy. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So
What does that mean?
I'm putting together some ways that people who have belief systems and have reached great stages of helping groups of people open up. Remember the 4 stages.
Mhm.
Absolutely fantastic coaches and therapists and others in these different stages, which is where people are. So it is a process of finding where you are and then how much, and how quickly you want to grow and become expansive and become actualized. So
Well,
when
people have to learn that that's possible.
yeah, so
How?
we're setting up a friend.
But now I have to throw this in here real quick. It's a choice. We all have choice.
Yes.
And when we make the choice, after we know it's possible, when we make the choice to actually take a step and go and do it, that's when the whole world can open up to us. And that's where the whole actualization and the whole, bring integration and
Yes.
expansion and wholeness and light and love and all that stuff comes in. So yeah, I mean, so people like Clive who build these processes, we need that because that's the container in which the work that people like you do, Dr. Eileen, falls into, so we can have this stuff available to the human race, basically. You know what I'm saying? So the processes and the systems need the kind of work that you and others do that help people heal. Does that sound right?
Yes.
We're creating Friends of Rapsy, and that includes the 6,000 plus clients that we've worked with either together or severally. And then we're creating the Ravenscroft sort of wisdom school and things. It all starts with a very simple step. If you want to know more about this, we've got a website, and I know you asked that at the end. So you go to that, you can read around, you can see the testimonies, you can see how people have used it, and the rest of it. We have a book, and so we're starting with the process of spreading information. We joined your group because you have a fabulous group of people who are empath and soul
highly sensitive
highly sensitive. Yes.
And you'll be pleased to know that I've started working on the building of the community, which is the awakening for soul divinity, or no, awakening to soul divinity.
Beautiful.
So we're moving as people progress, we move them into the community piece if they choose to be there, and that creates a space for all these other things to come through, which
and we're linking elbows. We're not linking hands because of COVID. That's a bad joke.
Oh, you know what? I don't even want to talk about that. That's a whole nother mess.
So we're linking elbows with people who are, working in this. There's so many people waking up, is the point. The awakening with Aquarius coming in and everything else, and it's been going on for some time. So it's
not enough as far as I'm concerned.
It's about
yeah.
It's about.
Look, before you go any further, Clive, I have to answer that. So, yes. Dr. Eileen.
Yes.
It only takes 10% of the population to wake up, because it's exponential once that 10% wakes up. And my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that it is at about 8 or 9% at this point. So we're pretty darn.
I had no idea. I just know it's
okay. You are so focused on helping people, you don't need to know that part. But I'm letting you know that it's not as bad as we think it is.
Okay.
There's a major shift coming in February and March as well.
Yeah. Yep. You're not the first person I've heard that from either. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
it's kind of get ready.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not going to feel good from what I understand. However, the process, especially when we're as people who do our healing work and everything, and we're in that space and we know how to work through it, it's helpful for us to stay focused on that, healing rather than on what's going on outside of us, because that's not going to help anything. So as long as you stay focused, it's not going to feel as bad. You may be picking up on like what's going on, the energies of what's going on, but go into nature, start writing or creating art, dance, doing all these different, light a candle, meditate, whatever you need to add to that self-maintenance piece, especially during this time, because we really don't, a lot of us don't know what else to do. That's still helpful right now for a lot of people, so that's what I would put out there to recommend to whatever's going. And I probably will lose it a few times myself, but I realize that by March, the middle of March or the beginning of March, that things are going to kind of settle out. And I don't know what's going to happen. I just know I feel the energy of the shift right at around March too, just like you said, which is interesting. So yeah, but one step at a time, let's get through these first couple of months and then we'll move forward. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just going to say, there are places in and around you of your energy. So if you're listening to this, and if they signal to you in any kind of hurt or negative way, thank them for their communication
and their positive intention.
Which
they may not even know they have.
Yeah, that's right. Those places may not know, and that can open the doorway to working with somebody who can help you find the causes and the pathways to bring that energy through safely.
Yeah.
No, I think you encompassed it. Whatever stage you're at in your development, there are people around you who can support you. And what I wanted us to do was to paint a picture of the fourth step. Really, when you have all your energy, I have gone through 33 years of being with this lady, so you can imagine that there aren't too many, if any, dark corners left.
You're human. There's still dark corners.
But this is what you get. It's putting things into action is the bit that sort of is still need other people around to help move the wheel or whatever. But what I just wanted to do was, for those who are helping others, if you want to add to your toolkit, we have something that you may not have heard of or seen or experienced, and therefore we'd love to share that. What we want to do is set up training institutes around the world and things like that. We don't have to do it all, and we would love to find people who are curious about this transition and bringing all those energies that we speak to and everything else. Come on in, come on down, radiate out. And be part of the
Is there some kind of something you can give right now to people who are probably going to be challenged with the things that are coming up, and just some kind of tool or piece of suggestion or whatever, and how to walk through that? Can you give something, if they're not like actually coming for an appointment, like if they're in the middle of it and they haven't scheduled or whatever, what can somebody do to create an opening and walk through that without losing it, so to speak. Watching.
Right, okay,
So
no,
if you have something like put your hand on your heart and breathe, or something like that, just something very simple that would help somebody who would need it, that you could suggest.
I don't have anything simple, but the only thing I can think of, if they wanted to, I would suggest they sit down, lay down, whatever, close their eyes, take some nice deep breaths, and wherever they're feeling poorly, look in with your inner eyes, open up your inner eyes, have a look, and thank everything in there. Even if you don't see anything, thank them for their positive intention, the functions that they do, the jobs that they have, and say, I'd like you to not just exist, but to be alive and thrive.
Okay. I mean, that's helpful. Yeah.
you give one.
Something that would create a calming effect in the moment if someone starts to feel off center. Like, for example, one of the things that I do when I know that I'm feeling that, either whether I'm feeling it from the world or my own stuff, is I'll put my hands on my heart, I'll close my eyes, I'll take a few deep breaths, and it automatically calms my central nervous system down. So that's the thing that creates the space. And when you put your hand on your heart, it actually connects you with your inner child, your inner children, because that's part of the process of where they are located within your subconscious and in your nervous system. But the heart is from what I understand, is the connection to the inner child. So that's helped me for years, in like a situation. And that's what, I mean, if you get in there, that's how you can kind of slowly get out of there, so it helped.
The inner children aren't just in your heart. No. They can be all over the place. They can even be outside your body.
Right. But what I like to portray is that, especially with the information that you're giving, is most people aren't at the place where they're either ready to self-actualize or they're in the process of self-actualizing. So little baby steps help them get there. And the self-management is part of that little baby step. So if you're in chaos right now, use a self-management, because it's not gonna, until you make an appointment with them and do the healing work. In the meantime, just keep doing something that'll help your nervous system calm down. That's basically what I'm trying to put out there. And I get it. I understand self-actualization is like the whole next level. Like, I'm kind of walking into that myself, so I understand it. But I also understand what it feels like to be in the chaotic moment and not know what to do with it,
And that is why we're working together.
Yes.
You have the information, which, given where people are.
Yes. Yeah. Meet them where they're at.
is going to be most helpful.
Yes.
I'm very happy to find a way of, sharing some of the exercises that are in the back of the book, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If people are wanting to do some self-exploration, but
yes.
it's so much thing.
And that's perfect. That's perfect. What does awakening mean to you at this time on the planet? Awakening.
Getting to know how you yourself is working. Awakening is finding the fragmentation.
Mm-hmm.
And major awakening is learning to look through whatever layers you find in your whole body, mm-hmm. and finding the source light, which has been hiding itself sometimes for many, many decades and lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. Good. I like that. Next question is, what is soul divinity to you?
I guess what it means is the source light, which is divine,
mm-hmm.
and becoming the human of it. Energy.
Okay. That's an easy one. And then what is unconditional love?
Your ability, when you are all of who you are, to love everything around you and give it and receive it.
I love that. That's wonderful. All right. Well, can you share how people can get in touch with you?
You could probably do that better.
So we have a website, www.ravenscroft.com.
Okay.
And within that, it enables you to book a half-hour free chat to see whether this work is really for you. And then it talks about how many sessions people have on average and how it can be afforded and things like that. We have payment plans, we have all those sort of kinds of things so people can do this, because it's chicken and the egg. If you find all your energy, then your world changes, and therefore financially and other things change as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you do the work? And then we want to set up trainings, but that's the easiest way to get in touch with us. An easy way to read about what we've been talking about,
Right.
and you'd like to have a chat. And there's an email there as well, which can, get to us.
People can order your book on the website as well.
You can order the book, and we
from the website.
We have the power of 10. The power of 10 is how close to being present, fully present are you? It's also $10 for the book plus the cost of mailing. So it's all nice and easy. The Friends of Rhapsody is bringing this whole group together where we are asking people about their stories. It's like, you did this work. What difference has it made in your life? And so we will be talking about healers and others and business people and others and everything else who done fantastic things.
You just reminded me of, we've got one of our holiday cards sitting on the kitchen counter is from a woman I met in England. I don't remember how I met her, but anyway, she came to see me for about a year. She wasn't married. She wanted to be married. After the year, she got married. And then, no, it was about children. She couldn't have children. That's what it was. And so she then, through the years, had 2 children. For the last, 30 years? The last 20 years, every time she sends us a holiday card, she sends us pictures of her boys growing up each year.
Aww.
Just to embellish it a little, she couldn't find a man, so Eileen worked with her. Then she couldn't get pregnant.
That's right.
She was doing IVF,
and then she got
both. And at 54, she gave birth. At 56, the children were born. So it was between the therapy and the thing. And
she
so
looks
it's
amazing.
56.
And she looks amazing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So let me ask you, Eileen, I have one more question for you, because I did this with you already, Clive. Is there anything else that you would like to add or share with the audience before we go? What would you?
I care about every one of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to work with you and allow you to become what you're meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Clive, would you like to add something? You're sitting there bated. It looks like bated breath. Go ahead.
Ditto.
Okay. All right.
I had my turn. Okay.
All right. Well, I love you guys. You're such a trip. Well, thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with me. I really appreciate the both of you. And to everyone else, thank you for watching, and please take advantage. I mean, this stuff can change your life if you just, choose to do it. And the thing about it is Clive is right. It's like this kind of vicious cycle. You got to do the work to get to the point where you're not feeling like you're in lack, and you're feeling in lack because you're not doing the work. So find a way, whatever that is, or you can work with them to figure out a way, whatever it takes. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much. Do your best to stay at peace. and have a beautiful day or night or whatever, wherever you are. All right. Take care.